Hi, this is Gina. Welcome back to Tight Ship Mama. If you are joining us for the first time, my name is Gina. My channel is called Tight Ship Mama, and I help moms run their homes like a tight ship. We use the practices of meal planning, getting out of debt, decluttering, implementing routines, and a little personal development. So if you're new, please hit the subscribe button, and I'd love to have you join for future videos. So if you have been watching for a little while, you know that we lost a son to leukemia. And you don't know the whole story, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but the longer we sit in quarantine, the longer I can see the similarities to what we went through with him, and hopefully I can give you a little bit of guidance and some of the things I did to get through that time period of living in a hospital. So it was December 2008, and my son was born with leukemia. He was the 31st documented case ever, and it was a perfectly normal, healthy pregnancy. So when he was born, it was a complete shock to everybody. They had no idea what it was. Doctors had never seen this before, ever. Our pediatrician came to look at him in the hospital and just shook his head. And I said, "Have you ever seen this before?" And he said, "Only in textbooks." So it was uncharted waters for everyone that laid eyes and hands on this child. I always wanted to be the mom of boys. I had a 2-year-old toddler little boy at home already. So to have another little boy was just a dream come true. But they couldn't treat him at our local hospital. So we were sent over an hour away to a hospital where they thought they could treat him. And he was immediately admitted to the NICU in the new hospital. The problem was immediately that our 2-year-old son could not go visit his brother because it was cold and flu season. And that was our first obstacle we had to get over, was letting this little boy know, like, you have a brother, you just can't see him. And for us to get into the NICU, if you've ever been in a NICU in a hospital, all the cribs are lined up, and, you know, it's pretty open. But where our son was, we called it the fishbowl. In this particular NICU, it was a big open room, and then on either side of it, there were 2 rooms that were completely surrounded in glass. And my son was in one of them. For us to go in to see him, we had to wash our hands. And now they're telling people, wash your hands for 20 seconds, sing the ABCs, whatever. We had to wash our hands for 5 minutes. And there was a little plastic tool we had to use to clean under every single nail. We had to scrub up to here. And then for us to go into his fishbowl, we had to dress as if we were going in for surgery. So we had gloves, mask, the surgical gown, booties on our shoes. And the other parents in the regular NICU would just look at us like, what in the world did you get? What's the matter with your kid? And that's how we would have to go see him every time we went to see him. If we left the NICU, we had to scrub down again and leave and repeat that process every time we came in and out. And this was really before cell phones were allowed in the NICU or texting or anything like that. So every time we needed to take a call from our insurance company or a family member, we had to do that process of scrubbing down all the time. Every time I went to pump, there was a room in there for the moms to pump their breast milk. I had to scrub down. I had to wipe down the whole machine. It was a lot of washing. By day 4, our hands were just bleeding. And you might be at that point right now. So my only suggestion is keep doing it and get really good lotion. Anything really thick that you can seal your hands, do that. The other thing that was very similar to what we're going through now is the mommy guilt. I was a stay-at-home mom before our son was born, so I was really hands-on with our older son, our toddler, and, I read to him constantly. I sang songs. Like, we lived in the most idyllic little part of the city. I mean, it really was, we used to joke that our street was Sesame Street. Like, we walked everywhere, and everybody kind of helped me raise my toddler. And so, since our toddler couldn't come into the NICU, from day one of that hospital, I had to make a choice. Am I going to be with my toddler, or am I going to be with the baby? And I never heard that word, mommy guilt. But I described how I was feeling to a nurse one day, and she goes, "Oh, you have mommy guilt." And I was like, what? And it really was. For me, the guilt came from no matter where I was, it was the wrong place to be. And you might be feeling that right now. If you are trying to juggle teaching your kids, being a businesswoman. I mean, you may have been some high-powered businesswoman 3 weeks ago, and now you're homeschooling like we're all part of Little House on the Prairie. You need to give yourself time to mourn. And that's what I needed to do too. I needed to mourn this idyllic life that I thought I was going to have with my 2 little boys. My world was just completely rocked upside down. And you have to give yourself time to realize that this is not what any of us wanted. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be mad. It's okay, whatever you're feeling, it's okay. There's no right or wrong right now, just like there wasn't for me. And if you are feeling mommy guilt right now, you have to try your best to put that aside and focus on whatever job is yours right now. So if you are the breadwinner of your family, focus on being the breadwinner. That was my husband's job. He missed a lot of days with our son because the days that my son was good, my husband went to work because we didn't have any income from me. So do the job that is yours for right now. And if that means you skip homeschooling for a whole day and you focus on your job that pays the bills, then do that. If you have to homeschool at 6 o'clock to 7:30 at night, then do that. There's no right or wrong answers right now. Just do the best you can. The next thing I would say is try to get on a routine if you can. We were living in a hospital for we didn't know how long, but we were pretty much quarantined inside this hospital. My son lived until April of 2009, but we, of course, didn't know how long he was going to live. So it was literally day by day. And when we were in the NICU, like I said, my toddler son couldn't come be with us. But eventually, the baby was moved to just the regular oncology wing. And then we got to be a family. And my husband went to work more regularly. And I was in a hospital room from about 8 in the morning until about 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night with a baby and a toddler. I'm in my sunroom right now, and I think that the sunroom is bigger than our hospital room was at the time. How I did it was simple, very simple. I tried to keep the clutter to a minimum because my toddler would nap on the window seat. So he had a little S-shaped Thomas the Train set that he would use and play with, and he had it was called a sandbox workshop. And he had a few toys, and we had books, and that was it. So if you are feeling like your walls are closing in around you right now, I would suggest you find a little part of your house where you can get your work done and have it be completely clutter-free. Even if you are just dumping things in other parts of your house for the time being, you need to have some sort of an oasis. And kids are going to thrive on less. My son was 2 years old, and he played with 3, maybe 4 toys all day long. So declutter, simplify, get on a routine, read books. We had book time, we had nap time, we had time where we would go to the hospital playroom, and that's how we got through our day. We went to the cafeteria a couple times a day, and we just made the best of it. The other thing that got me through was friends and family. Get on the phone, get on FaceTime. We're seeing all these Zoom meetings pop up. Take advantage of this technology. I could never have done what I did to survive the 4 months in the hospital without my family and without visitors and without cards from strangers and just updates. And Facebook really wasn't a thing just yet. I remember signing up for Facebook in this time period. It was MySpace, if you guys remember MySpace. So times were different, but take advantage of all the advancements that have happened in these years to stay connected with your friends and family, and just make sure that you're getting that human interaction that you need, that's not just the people inside your house right now. The other thing that I cannot emphasize enough is prayer. We've been starting our day since the kids have been home in quarantine with a family rosary. And I really do think this is the lifeline to our survival. There was not a day, I don't think, in the hospital where I didn't pray the rosary. And it was usually multiple times a day that I would pray the rosary. And a friend of mine said, pray it at 3 o'clock because that's like the holy hour. And I was like, okay. So every nurse knew at 3 o'clock, Gina prays her rosary. And I had nurses that would pray it with me. I would have nurses that would just quietly go about their job. But my little boy would play trains, and I would just be playing my rosary. And one day, when we were living at a Ronald McDonald house at the time too, and one day, my little toddler, he knelt down beside the bed, and he started saying all the prayers of the rosary. And I never said the rosary with him. I never expected him to sit and do it. But he just picked up on all these prayers because I was doing it so regularly. So remember, at this time, more is caught than taught. So your kids are watching you. And I've always said, since we had our experience with our baby being so sick, that you can buy your kids the nicest clothes, the nicest education. But when the you-know-what hits the fan, they need faith. And so do you. Because you can buy the finest things in life, but you cannot buy faith. So if you've kind of strayed a little bit, I would encourage you to get back on your knees. You know, I used to do prison ministry, and we would say to the prisoners, when you feel like you can't get up, get on your knees. And there's nothing better. And if you're Catholic, or even if you're not Catholic, ask the Blessed Mother for help. She's my lifeline. I just adore her. And the rosary is just, it's a beautiful prayer for you to learn as a family in this point in time. So demonstrate to your kids that prayer is crucial at this point in time. Some other practical things I did. So I cried. I'm not going to lie. I cried for probably the first 2 weeks of that baby's life. And then there came a point in time where I just said, you know what? You're the mom. And we're strong. And I said, today I stop crying. And I got up. I put on makeup. I got dressed. And my outlook changed. And I think that's a really important thing for you guys to remember right now too, is don't forget to take care of the basics. Get out of your pajamas. Saturday, I didn't get out of my pajamas. And I'll tell you what, it was like the worst day we've had so far in quarantine because I just didn't feel like doing anything. Get up, do your hair, do your makeup, get on some real clothes. The other thing, when I was living in the hospital, I was feeling frumpy. I remember being in the elevator, and you know how you have that post-baby bump? Someone asked me when I was due, and I said, my baby's 2 weeks old. That didn't make me feel great. But once I got past the 6 weeks and I was given the okay to do a little bit of exercise, I had nowhere to exercise. So what I did was I would put my toddler on the 3rd floor landing of the stairwell, and I would run from the 3rd floor to the 6th floor and then back to the 3rd. And we would sing the whole time so that I could hear him and know that he was okay. And then I would go down to the 1st floor and then up to the 3rd. And he would just play and we would sing and I would run the stairwell of the hospital. And that's what I did. The last thing I'm going to tell you, and the last tip or trick that I can give to you, is this. When we were in the hospital, there was a big hill in the back of the NICU. And my toddler had never gone sledding before. So the first time he ever went sledding was at this hill at the hospital. And I remember holding up the baby in the NICU and saying, "That's your brother. That's your brother out there sledding with Daddy." And when we knew that my baby was probably not going to make it, it was close to my son's 3rd birthday. And so for his 3rd birthday, we asked everyone to buy him camping things, because we knew when we got out of that hospital, we were going to get outside and we were going to show this boy all that this great planet of ours had to offer. And we were going to take him hiking and biking and sledding and skiing, and we were going to do all the things outside that we could. And the day after the funeral, that's exactly what we did. We went for a hike. And a month after the funeral, we took that boy camping. And as I sit here, that little boy is starting his Eagle Scout project because he took to the outdoors so fast, because that was what we did. And we showed him how being outside can just heal you in ways that medicine can't. So when you feel like you are so trapped, stop everything and just get outside. There is nothing better for you or for your kids than to be outside in nature. The last thing I want you to know, and I hope what I've taught my kids, is that whatever God has planned for us at this time, it's going to be okay. He knows how it's going to pan out for every one of us. And while it might not be what we wanted, it's going to be awesome. I wanted to be the mom of 2 little boys, and instead, I got 3 crazy girls and 1 really patient big brother. Hang in there, mamas. I'll see you next week.